Good morning, and welcome back to day 2 of our Startup Grind Global Conference. My name is Jamila, and I'm part of the sales team at Startup Grind. Our next session, titled Marketing to the Unmarketable and Other Misconceptions About Developers, is brought to you by Sekou White of Turing. Sekou is a marketing professional with 20 years of experience in the technology, entertainment, and digital media industries. He is currently the VP and Head of Developer Marketing at Turing, a unicorn startup disrupting the developer staffing industry with technology powered by AI. Here, he leads a team of 12 marketers responsible for advertising, PR, events, digital strategy, and developer outreach. Prior to Turing, Sekou has held positions at IBM, Facebook, Microsoft Xbox, Activision Blizzard, and CBS. He has a BA in economics from Boston University and an MBA from NYU Stern. Sekou, on to you.
Good morning, Startup Grind. My name is Sekou, and today I'm here to talk to you about a subject that is near and dear to my heart: developer marketing. Developers are truly a fascinating audience and one that is extremely critical to all of our businesses. That said, reaching this audience is extremely difficult at best and downright intimidating at worst. So today, I hope to debunk some common misconceptions about not only developers, but how to speak to them, and also provide some thoughts and insights into how to authentically approach this audience. As a side note, we also have the Q&A open on the Bevy chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to fire away. And with that, let's have some fun. Really quickly, a bit about me. I am the VP and Head of Developer Marketing at Turing. I've spent the last 15 years as a marketer working in the technology, entertainment, and digital media industries, first as a product marketer, and then over the last 5 years, more recently, as a developer marketer. If any of this content seems interesting, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen. I am always open to connect, network, or chat. So it won't surprise anyone to hear that the developer population is growing, both in terms of size and the amount of impact they have on the marketplace. It's estimated that by 2023, we will have 27 to 30 million developers worldwide, with the majority of those engineers being based in United States, India, China, Brazil, and Japan. That said, as you can see by some of the colors on the map, there are large pockets of developer populations growing rapidly in regions all over the world, like Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And with more and more governments investing in STEM programs and technology in general, the growth rate is expected to accelerate to about 5% in 2025. But not only is this audience massive, developers help to move markets. As consumers, they represent a rather large and interesting buying cohort that's not only well educated, but also possesses steady levels of disposable income. They also over index in the consumption of everything from consumer electronics, games, and media to apparel and other consumer products goods. As decision influencers, think about B2B, where oftentimes, we're looking to sell to enterprises. We're looking to sell our software as a service, our platforms. The developers tend to be either the core decision maker or have tons of influence up and down the organization. And so, if your intent is to penetrate one of these organizations with your products and services, speaking to the developer audience is a critical step. And then lastly, developers are also brand stewards. Because they are early tech adopters, when they embrace a technology brand, the world tends to follow. And so as you start thinking about building your technology brand, your company's brand, your platform's brand, always keep developers top of mind as being, again, not only the early tech adopters, but really that brand influencer and that brand steward. So all this said, developers are still somewhat misunderstood. I've been doing this for a little while, and there's still tons of sort of misinformation and stereotypes that go around about developers. Why is that? Well, some of it has to do with the mystique around what they do. They are technical, the rest of us aren't. But also, I think it has to do with a lot of times the depiction of developers on screen in media. I think it's really tends to be lazy sometimes as depicting developers in sort of a monochromatic way. And with that, there's a ton of things that are misunderstood. So I'll unpack some of these for us. So the first major misconception, in my opinion, is that developers somehow don't have a life, that they are singularly focused on their job, on their task at hand, at writing the best code. Now, while they are passionate about their vocation and what they do, like any other professional cohort, they have families, they have hobbies, they have interests, they have passions. So when you think about developers, not only do they have a life, I think they have some of the most fulfilling lives of any consumers out there. All developers are the same. So developers as an audience, it's not a monolith. They represent a broad spectrum of cognitive abilities, of personality types, of nationalities, ethnicities, geographies, religions, genders, you name it. Especially when you start thinking about this 30 million number, right? It spans all across the globe, from the United States all the way to Brazil, all the way to Taiwan and Malaysia. And so when we start to think about this audience, we need to sort of break away from thinking about them as a single demographic. Beyond that, they also have varying motivations, desires, goals. And so it's very important to kind of keep this in mind as we're building out personas our developer personas, and building our creative and messaging for this audience. The next misconception around developers, it's that they're superhuman somehow. And again, as important as they are, and we know they're important, they're still human, and they're still subject to all of the influences that the rest of us are, and they're not immune to sort of the external things that impact how we live and work. And so thinking of them as sort of a separate group, separate from the rest of the consumers, is not only wrong, but I do think it's also going to negatively impact your ability to reach this audience. Lastly, software engineers hate marketing. Now, there's a little bit of truth to this, but I push back a bit and say, who really likes marketing, right? So I don't think they hate marketing more than anybody else. I think they're skeptical about marketing, and they're specifically skeptical about advertising. But if you're able to clearly articulate your product, your offering, as something of value to them, they're willing to listen, just like any other consumers. And so, really, it's more about how the message is delivered, how the marketing is delivered. And I think if it's targeted correctly, and you really focus on the the product as a solution to a problem that they have, it's something that they're willing to listen to. It's something that they'll be open to engage with. So that said, what do developers actually care about? And this is not comprehensive, but just a few observations. They really care about ease of use, whether it's your product specifically, whether it's your website, whether it's your tech support. This ability to find what they're looking to find and find it quickly is super important and attractive to developers. So this idea of ease of use, where logic is sort of built into how individuals use this thing. So ease of use is always important. Support is equally important. The ability not only to find expert support through customer service or extended tech support, but also that support ecosystem, whether it includes developer advocates, internal SMEs, or so on. The ability to feel like they have a partner with whatever the platform experience, the product, the offering is also something that's going to resonate really well. Skill building, the ability to learn more, the ability to up level. Developers are always looking for ways to not only add to their toolkit, but also ways to make themselves more attractive and marketable for their next role, for their next project. They're also looking to learn how to build new things. And since technology moves so fast, try to keep up to speed with the changing and varied needs of their job. And lastly, community. Developers certainly over-index in online communities, and I think it's for a few reasons. One, it is about interaction, just like the rest of us, and I think being connected and the and ability to interact with other people is important for any human being, but it's also for developers an opportunity to collaborate, ask and answer questions, mentor and be mentored, and also inspire each other. And so community tends to be something that not only is important to their jobs, but also important to their identity as developers. So the question is, how do you authentically reach this audience with all this said? And I did say a lot. First and foremost, engaging developers where they are. So I think if you take this really literally, this means being smart about finding where the largest networks of developer ecosystems are, both online with places like Reddit and Twitter and Twitch and Discord, but also offline with certain developer events, so on and so forth. But I want you to kind of think about this in a different way and extend this idea further. I kind of talked to you a lot about how developers are just like you and I. They are regular people that have passions outside of what they do, and that their job doesn't necessarily define who they are, what they're passionate about, and what they believe in. And so think about that. Think about different ways, different channels, different delivery vehicles where you can reach developers in ways that are unexpected. Building a robust community. I just talked to you a little bit about why community is important, or that community is important to developers. And I think it's important to you as a marketer, as a CEO, as a startup who's trying to target this audience, invest in building communities. Now, this could be anything from investing in existing sort of social media platforms and making sure that your presence is one that fosters a sense of community and engagement with your audience. But it's also what you do and your strategy around events and programs that you have specifically for the developer audience. Anything that fosters an environment of collaboration, engagement, and communication, two-way communication is what you're looking for. And community is important not just because that's what developers expect and that's what developers like. It's not only important because it's a good way to engage your audience, but it's important because it's something that adds to the value proposition of your product offering or platform. Similarly, teach them something. And so this can be anything from workshops to a speaker series to AMAs, all the way to something more integrated and intense by building out maybe a curriculum that leads to some kind of badging or certification. Developers, again, want to be able to up level. And if you're a product offering brand or platform that enables them to do that, you will build some brand equity. Anything that you can do to encourage developers to play, test, and learn is going to add value to your brand and how they see that brand. Also, just like community, investing in this is not only important in and of itself, it also adds to the value proposition, your ultimate value proposition to the audience. And then fourth, finding the right partners to advocate. Now, whether that's building a team of internal evangelists or developer advocates, or working with external developer advocates and evangelists, really identifying who the key influencers are in the specific developer communities that you want to reach. Using a partner, leveraging them adds credibility to any product or brand, especially when you are a new product or brand. This will carry weight if you align yourselves with the right partners. But at the end of the day, none of this makes any sense to invest in unless you're really, really clear about what you're selling and what kind of value that this product or offering provides the consumer or the developer. When asked, uh, when asked, 31% of developers said, when asked what compelled them to click on an ad or engage with a certain content, 31% of developers said it was because the messaging clearly was framed around how this particular product was able to solve one of their problems. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, right? Developers are problem solvers by nature. They think of the world in terms of problems and solutions. And so even as a marketer, as a salesperson, as someone who is trying to get a member of this audience on their platform, that's the way you sort of have to think about framing your value proposition. What problem are we solving? And then use these different mechanisms in order to effectively reach the audience. So at the end of the day, the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. And this is one of my favorite quotes. But this is even more true for developers. And I think we have a tendency to lean a little bit too much on marketing channels like advertising, which and performance advertising, which work great. But I also challenge you to really think about other ways to engage the audience through advocacy, through community, through skill building, really focusing on finding new ways to reach your audience where they are. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Turing at all. So allow me to do that. Turing is an AI platform that allows customers to quickly scale engineering teams by accessing a network of unbelievable talent of 1 million developers across the globe. We are extremely passionate about partnering and matching not only large enterprises, but also startups with super qualified, super talented, remote developers from around the globe. And so if that's something of interest to you, please visit turing.com/startupgrind. As well, we also have a few account executives at the conference currently. And so if you're interested in speaking to one of those folks, please scan the QR code on the screen. And with that, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank Startup Grind for inviting us. This has been fun. As I mentioned, please reach out if any of this was interesting to you. But until then, I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Tired of fighting with Silicon Valley giants to hire top software engineers? Why spend months of time and money competing with big tech companies when you can find the same high-quality talent at the push of a button? Just tell us the skills you need, and you'll be able to start working with your new developer in a matter of days. Designed by engineering leaders from Facebook, Google, and Stanford, our vetting combines automated tests and live interviews to vet for a rigorous Silicon Valley bar. Because of that, when you hire Turing engineers, we're matching you with the highest quality software engineers from all over the world. Hiring through Turing comes with a 100% risk-free 2-week trial. Trusted by more than 100 companies and backed by investors and executives from Google, Facebook, Amazon, and more, Turing is the future of work.